All right. Hi there, Natalia. Good evening. How are you? Is everything okay?
Hello, yes, thank you.
Great. That's great. So I'm going to let you share your screen. I'm going to let you share your presentation.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you can hear me now, Natalia. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know what happened. Even my speakers were not working. It was weird. But now we're good to go. I'm going to share then my screen again. So I was telling you, I'm going to remind you briefly all the elements that you have to take into account before starting your presentation. Okay, remember that you have to time 10 minutes, right? For the whole presentation, you have to stop. You are going to talk about the same topic that you had to read, right? That is regarding this one over here. So let me just show the title briefly. It is this one, right? Early life exposure to violence. Okay, the effects on the psychological, physical aspects may be mainly related to brain changes as well. Now, we have rubric, right, with a lot of criteria, and we have to take those criteria into account. Here is where I'm going to be taking notes, right, for your pronunciation, possible mistakes, vocabulary, conjugation, and structure, as we were taking a look before, paraphrasing. We're going to see how the instructions were followed, and here the time management. All right. So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions before starting, so that you can share your screen and you can start with the presentation. Let me know, please, Natalia.
No, that's okay. I changed my presentation because at the last week I upload a presentation with 2 slides, but I am
Okay.
using 5 slides now.
Okay. Perfect. It is
So I
great.
have
Exactly.
here the 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 new version.
All right, that's perfect. So I'm going to let you share your screen, all right, so that you show your presentation. I'm going to stop sharing mine. So let's share yours, please, and let me know as soon as you're ready to start so that we can begin with the timer.
Okay. Mm, okay. All right.
So you begin, please. Again, try to use your timer. You start with your timer. I'm going to do the same as soon as you start.
Okay. The research that I review is the early life exposure violence. This is a topic related to IPV, or exposure to intimate partner violence, that it have to is talk about the control that adheres in the coercive exercise in the partner that influence in the socio-emotional and neurological development of the children. And this is an important topic because it's one of the less research of the few research about this topic, because it's an exposure to the violence, but no is a violence direct to the child. And this is an exhortation too for the working on policies for prevention of this type of violence. What is IPV? IPV is the action that happens when the partner exerts a coercive control over the wife generally, and is related to sexual violence or physical violence too. And this is an exposure at first 5 years of life of the children. It have to be effects on the brain development of the child and damage in the relationship with the caregiver. In two topics mainly, the sense of secure and the regulation of emotions. These topics, when no is working good, can be produce future risks related to behavioral problems or low cognitive development, in general related to the education of the child and the development in the society. There are a specific stage from 6 months until 18 months when the child is growing, and he's learning to regulating their emotions, like control the stress and the hormones. And it's important the role of the caregiver in the specifically stage, because it's a point of reference for the child. And if it doesn't good, there are pathologies, can be lead in pathologies as depression or anxiety. About the exposure to IPV, there are two important moments: perinatal period and infancy and early childhood. In about perinatal period, the most of problems or the most of issues here are related to the health of the fetus and the child until 1 year, 1 year old. Even there are problems with the mother for possible hemorrhages and the death of the fetus. And about the fetus, there are problems like low weight, growth restrictions, preterm delivery, morbidity fetal, etc. Related to the stress of the mother, when the mother is presenting a high level of stress, there are an increase of cortisol, and it produces damage in the brain development of the child. And at the same time, behavioral problems in the about the development of the child too. In infancy and early childhood, there are two types of problems related to trauma and psychopathology and cognitive development. In trauma or psychopathology, that we have here trauma symptoms like eating and sleeping problems, bad habits, not only in the present of the child, will be possible that are continue present in the future of the even when the child will be adult. And there are here there are problems related to the mood disturbances or sleep disturbances, and there are highly aroused child, high irritability, screaming and crying. And about the relationship, the child with other children, here there are general and social anxiety, depression, and problems with the development of the skills of the child, like training in the toilet and problems in the language. And another topic important is cognitive development. In this point, is presented the low IQ and cognitive functions. And there are effects in the memory. Even there are research, another type of research that compare the children that don't have this type of exposure of violence at home have more than 8 points of IQ if we compare with the child that are exposed to IPV. And other important issues is that there are a low school engagement. Respect to the impact of IPV and the damage on the brain structures, here this is a topic related to the damage in the brain specifically. When we talk about the hypothalamus pituitaris adrenal APA axis, there are here an overproduction of cortisol, and it can be produced a problem with the development of the system that control the emotions and regulate the emotion of the children. And in this stage, when the children have 8 months until 16 months, have problems because in this stage, this system are development in this period of time. And there are problems with the gray matter density because there is a low IQ and language processing and problems with the processing too, with the language processing too. Finally, the IPV occurs when the children is receive the exposure to the violence. No is the violence direct exerted in the child. The most of all the cases is when the exposure of violence is exerted to the caregiver, and it presents physical and psychological terms. Why the caregiving is important? Because it's an important role here because is responsible for the development of the brain structures and behavioral self-regulation for the child. Because the child is like is the point of reference for is the unique point of reference that the mother on the first month of life. And finally, the most necessary about IPV is a policies for prevention are critical needed. This is a final reflection of the essay that I reviewed. And well, that's all that I want to share. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Natalia. Great. So we're good with the time also because it was 9 minutes, 30 seconds, more or less. So I believe that we're pretty good. That's inside the range that we got. All right, perfect. Now, before going to the feedback, because it's going to be about everything, now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. All right, it can be related to the article, or it can be simply related to your general opinion on this topic. Okay, so we are going to begin. All right, so how do you think, all right, and this is something more personal, how do you think that this problem can be solved? You were talking about some policies or something related to that, but what is something that you would do to try to solve this problem? Because it produces, right, long-lasting effects on children, and it's very common that violence, right, is inside, right, someone's home. So it's not something that is weird, actually something pretty common. And again, it has observable and verifiable, right, repercussions in terms of the brain, of the behavior, and so on. Okay, so again, going to the point, what is something that you believe one can do or society can do in order to fix or to deal with this problem?
I agree with the article when talk about policies for prevention of this type of violence. But maybe I can be proponed actions for the government, for the population, and working together. For example, ability more communication media and campaigns on communication media related to this type of violence that we can not to see as public. Maybe no, there aren't more people talking about that, and we can see only when in this when the violence is most evident, but no is there are actions that imply the education of the women, of the caregiving, for example, and for acts like more responsibility about the child that is growing in next to her. And it's important to mention that is assume more responsibility for the life that is growing with her.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, related to that, what do you think, for example, some people were again trying to propose, right, an idea related to obligatory training, let's say not courses, but it will be kind of a training course for parents in order to be informed, right, on the most basic things related to raising a child, right? Because sometimes, it's for some people can be natural to become a father or a mother, but it's always important to know, right, some things that can damage the health of your children in general and so on. Do you think that it would be a good idea to propose an obligatory training, all right, program for parents in a country, for example? Or do you think that's too much and we should look for getting to the parents in a more flexible way? What do you think?
I think it's totally a good idea for participate in the training if we if we want to be parents, because have this role is a lot of responsibility. No, it's only have a child, is more than us, because there are a life depend of the mom, of the dad. And I think that is a good idea if with parents and responsibility action. If the parents are that enough prepared for educate to the child and don't expose to this type of bad moments that damage their future in her life, in their lives.
Very good. And lastly, all right, because again, it's related to that directly, but also indirectly. There are some children, right, that they already were exposed to violence, right? And they sometimes they don't do good in school, right? They have bad grades. They don't do good because they have some problems. They are thinking of those problems at home and so on, right? What do you think then about the role of the teachers, of professors, of people around them? Well, what's the role that they should have in terms of these children? How can they not only understand but help them? What do you think it's a good idea? And what schools, what the community, and other entities in society, what do you think that they can do besides the parents?
I think that all the institutes government have to work together for for prepare to the future society, because the children are our future, and not only the schools, not only the professors, probably the community in general have to give help to and attend and pay attention to this type of cases. Mostly when you can recognize this type of signals in childs, like maybe show irritability and uh, low cognitive or something like this. And so I think it's important the role of the professors and the teachers, like try to be more near to the childrens, and at the same time have to a fluent communication with the parents for have to initiative to help to the children with this type of problems.
Perfect. That's good. To me, that's enough. All right. It means that now I'm going to give you some feedback about everything. All right. About your
Uh-huh.
presentation and all those details. So to do it, I'm going to share my screen now. And good. All right. Now, first of all, the most general thing, I love the way in which you prepare your presentation. I think it was pretty clear. This was a complex topic, and I believe your presentation was very well prepared and all the main elements were showed over there. Right? It means that it helped a lot to understand, right? Because we have complex words, we have things that not everybody can understand, but I think the way in which you did it was perfect. All right, so that anybody at least can have an idea about that. Okay, so that was great. Also, the way you control your time, the way you organize the presentation seemed to be great to me, because you follow, right, the way in which you organized your ideas following the presentation, and it had like a very specific organization. Over that, you were paraphrasing, you were giving the ideas, and that's why, again, for me, the paraphrasing was great. I'm not going to be picky with the things you were reading or not. To me, it was something that you were saying, and that was great. Of course, you read the article, because you mentioned, right, the main details that were shown over there. You mentioned those, so you read it. You use the information clearly from that article. You have your presentation. There's no problem. Of course, you share your screen. You turn on your cameras, and again, the time was inside the range that we got. All right, so all these elements are with a perfect score. All right, we can go then over here, and so that we can see more or less how we're doing and how everything can affect the total score. All right, so again, in terms of, uh, I'm going to go directly here, sorry, over here. Okay, I already have this. All right. So again, in terms of the instructions, we got everything: time management and paraphrase. Okay, so we are missing these two. We're going to see how we do with those two. But I'm going to verify. I'm going to double verify now, because I want to see this. All right, and to do it, Natalia, I'm going to ask you to read this one. No, the ones that I believe that can be good. For example, this word. How do you pronounce this word over here?
Exposure.
All right, close. This one over here.
Society.
All right, this one.
Child.
All right, this one over here.
Hormones.
Okay, one more time, please. Sorry.
Hormones.
All right, this one.
Anxiety.
All right, this one over here.
Perinatal.
All right, this one.
Fetus.
Oh, all right, okay, this one.
Development.
All right, this one over here.
Trauma.
All right, over here.
Psychopathology.
All right, and this last one.
Habits.
All right, okay, good. So I believe that this one was good. So I'm deleting the ones that I believe they were working good. Now I'm not sure about this one. Are you making a sound before the O, or is directly the O that you are pronouncing over here?
Uh, there are a lot of complex words in the essay, so I my exercise was I put in Google Translate some words or some phrases that I don't know how can I pronounce, and
Mhm.
I try to talk like the translator, but I don't know if that's okay.
Okay, no, it's good. Yes, I know it's a lot. That's why I'm making you repeat some of them because I know that
Mhm,
you know at least the basics. That's why I'm not going to take exactly all of them into account. All right, I'm going to see. For example,
mhm.
this one to me is almost good. There's one thing, but it's going to be more like hormones, hormones. All right, but it's
Hormones.
good. I'm
Ah,
not
okay.
taking that into
Mhm,
account. All right, then over here, uh, this one, and I'm deleting this one. And this one, this is a common word, right? One more time. Can you pronounce this one more
mhm.
time, please?
Eh, habits. I don't
Uh-huh.
know.
So, which one do you believe is it? Try to pick one. Is it habits or habits?
I think it's habits, but I
Habits.
maybe I pronounce like habits.
Habits. Yes, it's going to be with that h, all right? Habits. So it's good. I'm
Habits.
deleting also
Mhm,
that. All right. So because I know that we have a lot of words, so that's why I'm not going to be that strict with that. Okay. But these
mhm,
words or these elements we have to, and even this. Be careful because you said the article I review, but you wanted to say that in past, right? Remember to always put more
yeah.
emphasis on the ed. I reviewed, right? The article I
I
reviewed
review it.
that. Okay, so I'm not also taking that into account. All right, but remember that, please. Now, these ones I'm going to take
Mhm,
into account. I know that they were hard, but it's going to be important to remember. So this is not bad, but it's going to be more like oh over here, like exposure,
uh,
exposure. All right, let's repeat that one,
exposure.
please.
Exposure.
Exposure, exactly. This is more like I, so this is anxiety,
Anxiety.
anxiety, exactly. This
Anxiety.
is perinatal, perinatal,
Perinatal. Mhm,
exactly. This was not that bad, but again, it's also stress. The pronunciation was good, but the stress is different. Natalia, this is development.
mm,
Development. In this, the is the stress.
development.
Exactly.
Mhm,
So instead of development, is development. This,
development.
remember the rule. This applies for English and also for French. The AU is always O. Okay, so this is trauma. Trauma.
Trauma. Mhm,
Exactly. Trauma. Right? For example, if you read this name, right? This name in English is not Laura, right? It's going to be Laura, right? Laura. This is the same for this, right? It's not Paul, it's going to be Paul,
oh,
right?
mhm,
Or this one, right? It's not going to be automatic, it's going to be automatic, right? Automatic. And this one as well, right? It's not going to be author, it's going to be author, author.
mhm,
Okay, so anytime you see AU, oh, trauma. And this is I, psychopathology. Okay,
mm.
psychopathology. Let's repeat that one,
Psycho,
please.
psychopathology.
Good. And I'm making you repeat this because you have many words like that, right? It can be a psychologist or psychology or the psyche,
Mhm,
all right? But that's it, all right? Those I'm going to take into account. Now here, we have important elements, but we're going to see again which ones are going to be the ones. If it's related to the same idea, I'm going to count only as one. For
mhm,
example, perhaps this, and those three can be only one. Why? We are using here the verb to be in not a correct way. Remember that we cannot simply say is, right? Is important. That's going to be incorrect, right? We at least have to use the contraction it's, right?
mhm.
It's. So it is important. It is necessary, right? Here you say is talk about, right? But that's incorrect. you can say the article talks about, or
Mm-hmm.
the article is about, right? But if you say is talk about, that's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be correct. All right, so the
Okay.
possible corrections are it talks about or the article is about. Okay, that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Then is no a violence direct to, and you were talking about the children, right? The child. So the same here, right? It is not, right? Or, but we have to organize this differently, right? Perhaps you can say it is a type of violence that doesn't go directly to the children, right? But if you say it's not or is not a violence direct to, that's going to be like to coming from Spanish. All right. So again, my recommendation is it is a violence that doesn't go directly to the children. All right. It's a violence that doesn't go or that the children don't receive directly. All
Mm-hmm.
right. One of those elements. But again, here we need at least it is. All right. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And then connecting this to an adjective clause. All right, that's the idea. But again, it's related to the use also of the verb to be. So these are going to be part of one correction.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then the other one that is similar to that is this, right? In general, you were making some other mistakes. It's the same idea, right? So instead of is important, it's always going to be it's important or it is important. Okay, so let's
Mm-hmm.
take these three elements into account as part of one, please. Then, this one, right? The action that happened, but as you were talking about the action, one thing, it's going to be that happens, right? Conjugation in the third person, the action
Mm-hmm.
that happens. Then you say these topics when it's not, right? But you're talking about topics in plural. So here
Mm-hmm.
is not is, it's going to be are. But not only when is, you also need a subject. After when, we need a subject, right? After because, we need a subject. After if, we need a subject, right? So these topics, comma, when they are not this and that, comma,
Mm-hmm.
and blah, 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 right? You continue. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we need a subject close to this one, and to this one. But besides needing a subject, the conjugation has to be in plural, as you were saying, topics. All
Mm-hmm.
right? Then here there are an increase of, but you're only saying an increase. So it's one increase. So instead of there are, here is going to be there is, only there is, right? There
Mm-hmm.
is an increase of this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are possible to, you say, not only are possible to continue, right, to present in the future, right? So you were paraphrasing that, it's good, but we have to organize this in a better way. Perhaps you can say, um, we're going to try to see. Do you remember? Let's try to remember what was the context about this idea. Continue to present in the future. So perhaps you were talking about violence episodes, or
Yes,
you
I
were talking
was.
about something related to that, right?
I was talking about problems not only are in the present of the child, in the future too.
Okay, good. Yes. So I think that's a better way. Why? Because if we organize it just like this, not only are possible to continue right in the present, but also in the future, it's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
that clear. So we need first a very clear subject, right? So as you started, right? The problems. So these problems, right, are likely or possible to be in the present and also in the future. That's one possibility. Or not only are these problems, right, going to be in the present or are going to happen in the present, comma, but also in the future, right? That's going to be another possibility, but that's going to be in inversion. When you start with not only, you need the subject, or sorry, the verb, and then the subject. But here we don't have a subject. So again, oh, that's if you want to start with not only. And again, the idea would be not only are these problems going to happen in the present, but also it's possible that they will happen in the future, right? So I'm organizing that idea in that way. Or these problems won't or will not only appear in the present or happen in the present, but it is possible that they will appear in the future as well. All right, so I'm playing with possibilities, but in all those possibilities that I'm giving you, there is always the subject playing a role over there, and I'm repeating the subject in the form of it or something like that in the second part. All right, to make it more clear, so that the connection is better stated over there. All right, because if we only say this idea, not only are possible to continue, it's not going to be that correct. All right, because of the missing subjects that we don't have, because we're starting with not only, and with not only we always work with inversion. That's something we don't know, but I'm communicating that now. And the next part also to make it more clear. But I don't know if you have questions about this correction, and the other ones I didn't ask, but what about this one?
I want to put emphasize that the problem continue in the future, not only are available in the present of the child, but also in the future to continue the problems. So I try to communicate that, but
All right. Yes. So you can use, yes, one of the ideas that I gave you, or even, yes, you use this idea, right? Not only are these problems again, right, happen in the present, but they are going to continue in the future, or, but it is possible that they will continue into the future. Or you can summarize that idea. You can say, right, this, besides, right, these problems happening in the present, there's a possibility, there's a big chance that they will continue into the future as well. All right, but again, it's important to try to mention that subject again as they or as it, so that it is going to be clear that we're referring to them. Okay, mainly that. That's what you can take into account. All right, so that's that mistake. Then here, you did it correctly, but you made 2 or 3 mistakes like this, but I'm taking just one. Remember, it's going to be only children, right? Or children. You did it. You made some of them were correct, but some of them you were using the S. Another topic important is, right? Perhaps this is because you were paraphrasing, but remember, it's always going to be another important topic, right? Another important topic is there are researches, right? It's not bad, it can be possible, but remember, if you want to be formal, research is going to be uncountable. All right, if you want to be very formal. So you can say there's more research that shows this and that, right? So instead of there is more research and only in singular. Then other important issues is that, but other important issues is plural. So are, right? Other important issues are this and that. Then it can be produce a problem, but you were talking about something that produces actively a problem, right? For example, you can say violence can produce a problem. So that's active, right? But we cannot say this in passive voice because this is passive model. If you say violence can be produce a problem, right? That's incorrect because the violence is not receiving anything. The violence is doing something, right? So we don't use be, right? It can produce a problem directly without the be. Only if this receives the action. Then I can be proponent? No, directly I can propose, right? Or my proposition is this one. All right. Also, we don't use be because this is passive, but you're also not receiving anything, right? You are doing anything. You are doing something, sorry. You are proposing something, so that's active. And with active voice, we don't use the verb to be plus another verb. And remember, when you were talking about purpose, you don't say for prepare, right? And again, we know this, right? But it's going to be to prepare, right? It's a good idea to prepare the parents with training programs, right? Because to have, right, a child is not easy, and they need to know the most important elements about doing or about raising a child, and so on and so forth, right? So instead of for prepare the parents, it's going to be to prepare the parents. All right, and that's it. Again, some of them now I'm going to take them as one, but let me know if you have any questions, please, Natalia, because that's going to be like the main review about those elements.
No, that's okay. I agree with that because I know that I can have I can have a lot of mistakes like this with the conjugation probably or something like you put in the ex.
And
That's
it's
okay.
improving. It has to be
Mhm,
right to improve. The idea here, of course, is to show you this so that you next time, if you listen to yourself, you can stop and correct yourself, right? It's always good.
mhm,
Now, a good idea to practice this because you're going to keep working, right, with some extra hours, but also the preparation course, and that's going to help you a lot. But again, something that is going to help you even more, Natalia, if you ask me a piece of advice to improve this, is recording yourself. All right.
mhm,
This is something that I do in a speaking course that we used to have over here. We don't have it anymore. But in the speaking course, it was everything with recording. Okay. They
mhm,
had to record 1 minute saying something, and then we listened to the recording, and they were able to identify and they realized, okay, yes, that's not good. And that's not good, right? So I was giving them the corrections, but when they listened to themselves, they realized those corrections. Okay, so it's a very good way to work with that. Okay,
mhm,
record yourself. Try to have short, you don't have to record 10 minutes, right? It's enough 1 minute, 2 minutes. If you can record 2 minutes a day, all right,
mhm,
and listen to those 2 minutes, and you can little by little be more conscious about these details, right? And you can say, I didn't use a subject, I have to say it, right? It is hot today. It is important to remember that I have to use it, right, when it is not the time, while it is not there, right, because it is not the best idea. Okay, so every time in English, try to have the subject, unless you are repeating the same verb for the same subject, right? I love to go to the cinema, do some exercise, and play the guitar, right? In that case, of course, we don't use the subject because it refers to the same idea. But if we start a new idea and it's clear that it's a new idea, we have to use it. All right, it, or
mhm,
of course the subject that you have in mind. And these other details as well. I know that you know that we don't use the s, right? Because you were saying children correctly all
mhm,
other times. But as you're still doing it, you have to be more careful, and you can even correct yourself. In the test, for example, in the TOEFL, it's better if you correct yourself immediately. Right? You say, and other children are capable of doing this and that, right? So it's better because they are going to know that you are aware of that mistake, and it happens, right? Native English speakers make these mistakes. They can say
mhm,
children's, and that's a mistake, and they say, right, sorry, excuse me, children.
mhm,
Okay, so the best thing here is not that you don't make mistakes, is that you can recognize your mistake as soon as possible, try to correct it if you see that it's a good idea. If not, try to pay attention, right, for what you're going to say in the future. But that's the thing, this is not
mhm.
something that we're going to improve, right, immediately. It's little by little.
Yeah.
You still have time to prepare yourself this November, December. So these 2 months again, try to do that. All right. Try to record yourself.
Mhm,
Try to look for synonyms. Try to do that as you were saying. Do that, or simply in Google, right? You say, you write this, right? Perinatal pronunciation, and that's going to be right.
mhm,
Perinatal, right? This, you write it,
mhm,
and pronunciation, right? Development. Or you can simply go to Oxford Dictionary, right? Or the Cambridge Dictionary. And they have always the option, right, to play the word, right? And those
mhm,
is better if you go there because sometimes, but now Google, I think, is good. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's better if you go to Cambridge or Oxford because the pronunciation they show there is American pronunciation and British pronunciation, and you can
mhm,
practice with both of them. All right, and it's better because I believe that an expert records those voice audios. All right, but
mhm,
that's it. I don't know if in general now you have any other questions, but that's going to be what we're going to be taking into account. So, what do you say,
mhm.
Natalia?
No, all is clear. I have this is I think this is the most the most hardest part about the TOEFL exam, the speaking practice.
Yeah, it can be because and the thing about the TOEFL, and this is going to make it, perhaps this is going to be actually the hard part, Natalia, is that everything is only a short time, and you have to give all your ideas in that short period of time. Okay, so you have to be concise. This, of course, it's a good way of practicing for speaking for 10 minutes, 15 minutes is always great because you have to look for ways to continue, right? But in the TOEFL, I know you can do it good, but you have to learn to say everything with a chronometer, with a timer. All right. Remember that the most difficult actually part in the TOEFL is the 45 seconds personal opinion on one of the options that you have to choose. Right? Do you prefer to study at home or to study in a public library? Right? You have 45 seconds to support your response. Right? And you say in 45 seconds, I prefer to study at home because of the following reasons, right? First, I feel more comfortable being at home. I don't have any noises and I feel more concentrated and focused on everything that I'm reading and I'm doing. For example, once I tried to go to a public library and I was distracted with all the noise and all the people around me, right? Second, I believe that it's better for me because I don't have to waste time in transportation, in paying for the books, in getting something. So I believe that to me is more not only comfortable but beneficial to study only at home, right? And you say, for example, this, and that. And that's why I believe that it is better to study at home than to go to a public library. Okay. And all of that should be in 45 seconds. And again, it's not going to be that hard in the sense of what you're going to say, because in the preparation course, Natalia, they are going to give you again the templates, right? I prefer this because of the following reasons, because of the following motives, because of the next, right? I don't know, whatever. Then you say first, this, for example, this and that, right? Second, this, for instance, this and that, right? And the conclusion. And that's why I believe that this is the best option, all right? So those templates are going to help you a lot. You're always going to be able to organize those ideas, and that's going to make your score be very high. Okay, if you know how to control your time, if you know how to organize your ideas, that's going to be good. But of course, in these 2 months, besides preparing with that, you can also take these corrections into account. But it's going to be organizing, all right? As
Okay.
long as you're going to be organized, Natalia, as long as you're going to be able to use the time correctly, all right? I believe that it's going to be at least one score that can be good, all right, and it's going
Okay.
to work for you. But it's practicing, all right, only practicing.
Yes.
All right, there you go. So we have that over here. It's not that bad. We had six, all right, but I'm taking that just as five because it's one more. I don't believe that things. But here is where we're going to be more. Okay, this is just one, two, and three. But the other elements are something different. No, even four. Okay, these are just like one. So one, two, then three, four, 6. All right. 10, 11, but those are like 1, okay, 10. It's going to be like 10. That's going to be affecting over here, but I believe that not that much between this and this. All right. So with that, this is going to be your score. All right. It's not that bad, but remember, I'm all right mixing some of these elements. I'm not taking some elements into account. It's not because again you made a lot of mistakes, but there are details that you can improve even more. All right,
Okay.
and practice that. That's again going to be practicing not only with Anki, but always looking for the words that you want to say, right? I always try to have a window open with a dictionary, something that can read that pronunciation for you. And my recommendation, I think that I showed you Youglish. I don't know if you remember or if you or we didn't see that. I
No,
believe we did
I
it.
didn't
Okay.
see.
So, actually, my computer now is not going to work correctly, so I'm going to make you go there. You're going to do this for me. In the chat, you can find that. Look for that, please. Go to Google, look for Youglish, and you're going to share your screen with me. I'm going to show you how you can use it.
This?
Okay, let me see. Yes, that's correct. For example, over there, look for this word, right? The developmental or the development. That's the word that we were correcting, right? Development. All right, and we can see sometimes it can be development, but let's see. Say it, and you can first mark the US. It means the American pronunciation. Now there you have, as you can see, 107,987 videos in which they are going to say the word development, and they are going to show you the exact part of the video, all right, in which they are saying that. So you can play it, okay? Play that video and you can return. Okay, and you can always go to the retry. Over there down below you have the buttons as well. Right, I'm going to use it. Sorry, I don't see it. And where is I'm not finding the annotate. Okay, over here, right? If you click over there, you're going to repeat that part again, and only the part in which they are saying development. So you can replay and replay that. Okay, development. Now, if you go to the next, you're going to go to the next video. Go to that one. And this is another video, and they are also working with this word. All right, so this is
can I
one.
put phrases here or only words?
Some of them, yes, it's less likely, it's less possible that you're going to find phrases, but it's possible as well. But you're not going to have as many results. For example, phrasal verbs, and you can learn how to pronounce the phrasal verbs and how to use it. You look for run into, right? The phrasal verb that we know, run into. And here, this is going to be not only for pronunciation, but also to see how to use it. Of course, sometimes here, they are not using that as a phrasal verb. They are using here this literally. So go to the next one. We're going to see when they use, in what video they use this as a phrasal verb. Here, all right? This is, for example, run into. And as you can see here, they are using run into not for people. They are also using run into for things. If you run into that, for example, she's saying, right, if you find this by accident, or it was not your plan to find this, right? For example, these problems, I think she's talking about these problems, right? And she's giving you some recommendations. All right, so you can look for that. Of course, also some phrases, but again, the results are not going to be as much. But I believe that you're going to find some of the phrases. All right, so again, my recommendation, if you really want to know the correct pronunciation, is go here. You can type the word and you can listen to a lot of English speakers, all right, native English speakers pronouncing that word in American English, in British English, in Australian English. Okay, if you don't know how to use a word, if you find the word, for example, what is a word? Jeopardizing, all right, the word jeopardizing. If we don't know how to use that word, go to English. You look all the videos, look at the context, and I'm sure you're going to understand what jeopardizing means. Okay, it's a very good tool, all right? Use it. It's great. No, you're welcome. Use that. And you have to look for tools like that, okay? English is a very good tool. Again, so the combination of English, the Cambridge Dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary, even Google, right? Just Google for definitions. If you have always that open over there as you're writing, as you're speaking, you're going to do best, all right? Of course, first you're going to depend on those tools. By little, you're going to be leaving those tools aside and you're going to be more independent. All right? That's the idea over there, Natalia. Good. Now, with me, we're going to finish with this. Look, in the presentation that we have right now, that I'm going to show you that is the last presentation. So you already have your score here. And this is how I'm going to evaluate these scores in Italy. Okay, this is an example. Pearson now is going to be the 50% that we got over here. All right, the assignments and the exams. Everything is going to represent the 50%. Then the writing task here, of course, we don't have all these tasks, only one, but it's going to be 25. And the speaking and reading are going to be in one, right? Because it was the same result. So this is also going to be 25, all right? But the ones that are going to be with more weight are writing and speaking, and this 50, okay? And you're going to get the total. I don't know if you agree with that. As we work with these elements, it can be like that. The second option, and actually this is going to be up to you, Natalia, is that I can only take Pearson into account because again, it's not a rule that I can do this. So what do you prefer? Do you want me to just take in Pearson into account as 100%, or do you agree with this type of evaluation?
No, it's better that we can use the writing and speaking as a part of evaluation.
Okay, that's going to be good. Okay, so this is something I'm going to be sending then to management. Here you're going to see your only grade for writing, and here your only grade for speaking. Of course, the other ones are going to be just in blank. And here, as soon as you finish with Pearson, remember you still have time, but as soon as you finish, please, if you let me know, I'm going to complete this, and then I'm going to send all the scores to management, and they are going to contact you, right, for the extra hours that you might need, or directly perhaps to go to the preparation course. But I believe you're going to have some extra hours to reinforce the knowledge that perhaps we need to reinforce. All right?
Okay, perfect.
Good.
I
That's
have
it.
probably I need how many time more additional if I put if I with my grades something like.
I don't know if they sent you, they said that when people registered or they sent a chart to the students. And I believe that the logic was if you have more than 90 your score, and actually I'm going to show you something. For example, I'm going to show you your scores. All right, give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing for a while and I'm going to show you your scores. And it's over here. Okay, but I was saying, I believe if it's more than 90 in the course that you passed, for example, in A8, if you have 90 or more, you don't need extra hours. I believe if you have between 85 and 90, or I believe it's between 80 and 90, I believe that you need one extra hour or something like that. If you have less than that, less than 85 or less than 80, you need 2 extra hours or something like that. All right. I don't have that chart with me.
Okay.
But again, they are going to show you and they are going to use your grades to tell you how much you need. Again, I don't have that exactly, but I'm going to show you now your scores, the overall scores that you got, so that you more or less have an idea about that. Okay, and it's over here. All right, so this has been a with all the courses that you've been with me so far. All right, from A7 to A11. And you have each score for each assignment, right? We always have 4 units, the first unit, second unit, third, and fourth unit. This is the total, and the assignments are 30%. The quizzes, only 3 quizzes, right? Every course, these are the scores for the quizzes, the total, and the weighted, all right, score. And the final test that is 40, that it's a lot, it's over here, and this is the weighted score, all right? And the total is over here. So you don't have, all right, bad scores. But again, according to these numbers, they are going to show you the chart that they have, and they are going to tell you for this course, you need only 30 minutes or one extra hour. For this one as well. For this, you need 2. For this, you need 1. For this one, you don't need. Right? So they are going to tell you that. But again, that's something I don't have access to. And as soon as I send the last score, that is this one, to management,
Yeah.
then they are going to contact you. All right?
Okay, perfect.
Good. There you go. Now, again, briefly, because I'm going to leave you with this, Natalia, something that we're not going to cover, that is a review, because this is the last lesson. We got to cover everything, and this is the last lesson. And again, this is not new, but I'm going to remind you how you can study phrasal verbs. All right?
Mhm.
Remember that phrasal verbs are what? They are only verbs, right? A phrasal verb is a verb, but it's a verb that is composed of what? Or that is, yes, it's composed of what? Of one verb and one or two particles,
Mhm.
right? That's going to be it, all right? One verb plus one or two particles. For example, put up with. What's the meaning of put up with? Tolerate, right? Tolerate something that you don't like, right? I have to put up with that music every day. I hate, right, that genre of music, but I have to put up with it because I have to work here. All right, so you tolerate something that you don't like. Go over. What's go over? Review, right? To review, for example, we are reviewing the phrasal verbs lesson. We are going over the phrasal verbs lesson, right? So it's always something that has a meaning, but you use it because it's very common in English. Run into, we just checked that, right? Finding someone by accident, but you can also use it with things, as you were able to see in the video. Also with come across. Come across can be with things and with people, but it's more common to use come across with things, and it's more common to use run into with people. All right, so she met her uncle by accident, all right, or she encountered or found her uncle by accident, or ran into her uncle. That means the same. Okay, but again, general review. Remember that we have two types of phrasal verbs, right? The inseparable ones and the separable ones. If it's inseparable, of course, the verb and the particle or particles are always together. Okay, you cannot divide them. So just to remember, we have this. Come across is inseparable. All right? Read the meaning, please, Natalia, and just read briefly this example over here.
Mhm. While cleaning the house, I came across a check I had forgotten to deposit.
Exactly. So come across is a phrasal verb. What is a phrasal verb? Is a verb. So a verb can be conjugated in present, past, or future, right? And what do you conjugate? Of course, the verb. You conjugate a verb. You don't say, I come across ed, right? No, we only conjugate the verb. Of course, we don't conjugate the particles, right? Across is a particle. Out of, those are particles. On is a particle. In, for is a particle. We don't touch them, right? The only thing that changes is the verb. Back. What's the past of back? Backed, right? I backed out. What's the future? I will back. Or he's going to back. All right, those are going to be the conjugations, but you don't change that. All right, these particles.
Mhm.
And that in general. Other phrasal verbs that you should know, we practiced this already. Get rid of, eliminate, throw away, go over, review, right? Look after means take care of, right? You can look after your nephew. You can look after your dog, right? You take care of that person, of that pet, right? Look forward to feel excited about something in the future, and so on. Put up with, also inseparable, to tolerate something or someone unpleasant, something that you don't like. Run into, you know that. Meet unexpectedly, all right, settle on, to decide on, to choose, take after, and this other two, touch on and turn into. Okay, but again, as this is a review, the only thing that I want you to remember, Natalia, is that these are verbs. These phrasal verbs can be conjugated, and once again, um, they cannot be separated. All right, these are
Mhm.
inseparable phrasal verbs. And now, in the list of phrasal verbs, we also have some other phrasal verbs, but we can put an object in the middle, right? Blew up, blew the car up, or blew it up, right? So
Mhm.
separable phrasal verbs, they can be separated, right? Easy. We understand that. Remember that if you have a pronoun, it has to be in the middle, right? You say wake me up. You don't say wake up me, right? You don't say wake up him. That's incorrect, right? You always say wake me up. It has to be always in the middle, if it's what? A pronoun. Okay? If you have a separable phrasal verb and you have a pronoun, it has to be in between the verb and the particle of the phrasal verb. All right? That's a rule that we learned as well. Then, if your object is too long, right, you're not going to put it in the middle. You're not going to say, we have to put the important meeting that you told me off. Okay? If it's too long, don't put it in the middle, put it at the end. So this is correct. We have to put off the important meeting that you told me. What's to put off? To postpone, to cancel, or just to postpone something, right, for the future. Or you can use a pronoun and it can be in the middle, right? We have to put it off. Or if you only say the meeting, you can also put it in the middle. We have to put the meeting off. Okay? Only when it's too long, you don't put it in the middle. But if it's 1, 2, 3 words, you can place them in the middle. And that's your decision. All right? Unless it is a pronoun, it has to be in the middle if it's a pronoun. All right? I'm trying to summarize all the main elements. And here, this is a list of the separable phrasal verbs that you also learned and practice with. And that is just that you have to remember them and try to practice with them. Okay? From this one, call something off is to cancel. Okay, let's read this example, please, using call off.
It started to rain 10 minutes before the soccer game, so they called it off.
Exactly, right? So they called it off. It means they canceled the game, all right? Or yes, the soccer game. It's the same. But again, it's just another way to say the same idea. But this is common in speaking, all right? In speaking, this is very common. Cheer up also is very common. Let's also read cheer up, please, Natalia. And make a sad person feel happy. The example over here.
My daughter was sad about missing the concert, but I bought her a CD to help cheer her up.
Exactly, right? When you cheer up someone or when you cheer someone up, both it's correct, right? You can cheer up someone or you can cheer someone up. It's correct because you have the two options. Is you make that person happy. All right? And you have other ones. Give out is to distribute, to give. Let down is to disappoint, right? Don't let me down, right? He really let me down when he forgot my birthday. Okay? It's something negative for that person. Pick up, this is common. Put something away to put something in its place, right? So if you wear a coat, you have to put it away. It means you have to put it in its place, in the correct place, right? Not everywhere. You cannot wear something and you leave it on your bed or you leave it on your chair, right? That's not putting away. You only put away something or you put something away when you put it in the correct place, right? Put off, as I told you, is to postpone, delay, procrastinate, right? You can put off a meeting, you can put off a concert, you can put off many things. And here are the last ones, all right? Throw away, that's very common, to put something in the garbage, right? You can throw your, I don't know, right, your cell phone away if it's not working and it has 10 years, for example. Try on is to put a clothing for you and the other elements that you have over there. All right, but again, that's mainly for you to check. I'm just mentioning the ones that I believe that are important ones. And here you have a list that Pearson wants you to memorize, plus the definition or the meaning that they have. Okay, so take a look at that again for practicing. But I want to know if you have specific questions about phrasal verbs. Please let me know if you do. If not, again, it's just practicing, reviewing, and being ready in that case for this last lesson that we got for today. Because with this, we are finishing absolutely everything. Natalia, I want to know if you have any questions, any comments before finishing today's class. Let me know, please.
No, only I remember that I was download all the presentations that you put in Google Classroom. I am planning to review when I have time. But no, that's okay. I will continue check the recording on the of the classes and practice with the presentations too, or remember
Exactly.
all the information.
Great. That's great. And you have a lot of, here, of course, we don't have those tools, but on the internet, right, on YouTube, you can check these lessons and they are going to show you that perhaps with some interesting videos over there. All right. Here, for example, in classes, we're not allowed to show those extra videos or contents because they are telling us to practice with you directly, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you, as something extra, you can check those videos. There are very deductive videos in which they are playing the role to make you understand the phrasal verbs, right? Without
Okay.
telling you that in Spanish, right? So that's the idea. As long as you can check other channels, other people, other professors, other teachers to complement that knowledge, that's always going to be good, right? Try to
Mm-hmm.
do it so you can check the recordings that you have, my presentations, but also presentations that you can find online. All right. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that some of them are going to work perhaps even better for you to reinforce. But that's it then, Natalia. Remember, we
Okay.
can still be in touch. Perhaps this is going to be all right, the last time we can see each other. So keep practicing. Remember, the TOEFL can be challenging, but for me again, and for most people, just to finish this up, the time management is the most important aspect of the TOEFL. All right, you
Mm-hmm.
can be very good at English, but if you don't know strategies, if you don't know the test very well, and if you don't know how to control the time but precisely, but how to
Mm-hmm.
finish your idea in 45 seconds, it means 43, 44 tops, and then you have to stop. If you don't know how to do that, again, it doesn't matter that your English is very good, you're not going to do good. All right. So my
Mm-hmm.
recommendation, try to practice everything that you do, everything with a timer. Okay.
Okay.
When you write essays, a timer. When you speak,
Mm-hmm.
timer. When you read an article, timer. See how much it takes you to read one article. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And according to that,
Right.
you're going to decide if in the TOEFL, you're going to read, sorry, the article, or if you're not going to read the complete article, you're only going to read parts, or you're going to go directly to the questions and you're going to look for the questions. Sometimes that's the best strategy. Okay. So look
Mm-hmm.
for that. That's it again. It was great working with you. And I hope I can know about you in the future. If you have any questions or I can help you with something, you can text me. All right?
Yes, thank you so much for all the classes and for all the tips and for all the recommendations.
No, you're very welcome, Natalia. All right. So enjoy your night, enjoy your weekend. And as soon as you finish everything on Pearson, I'm going to send to management so you directly are in contact with them then.
Okay, perfect.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
You're very welcome. Bye bye, Natalia. Take care.
Bye.